You've been given more autonomy because you've been performing really well. So why are you suddenly drifting? Why are you avoiding the follow-ups, the conversations, the reports? And here's the harder question underneath that one. What does it say about you that you already know what needs to happen and you're still not doing it? Most people stop there. They decide it's a motivation problem. They want their drive back. But what if the problem isn't that you've lost your drive? What if your drive was never really yours to begin with? What autonomy may be exposing is that you've learned to move by reacting to pressure. And when the pressure disappears, so does the movement. This is the gap you need to close if you want to lead at the next level. Because if pressure is what gets you moving, pressure is also setting the pace, which means you're reacting more than you're leading. In this video, I'll show you what this habit is costing you and what one client did to close it. The first thing I want to say is this. This probably worked for a long time. If you're someone who performs well under pressure, that's a great skill to have. It means when something is urgent, you can focus. When the stakes are clear, you can move. When someone is counting on you, you can deliver. And this probably made you the person others can rely on, made you useful, valuable, someone people could trust. And that's exactly why you were given more autonomy. But here's the catch. The same thing that made you effective in high pressure environments may not be enough to carry you into the next level of leadership. Because at the next level, people are not checking on you the same way. They assume you have it. You're driving it. You're driving new initiatives and ideas as well as you did when you were driving theirs. But when you wait for pressure to create movement, things start to slip. This is where it starts costing you. It's the follow-up that goes out too late. Last week's opportunity that lost momentum. The conversation that got postponed until it became awkward. The report that got done, but only after unnecessary stress. The relationship that starts going cold because you meant to reach out, but didn't. And over time, this starts stressing you out more than your own to-do list. You start doubting yourself and wondering if others are noticing it. You start picking up comments about your ownership. You want more scope, but part of you is also hesitating because you can feel the cost of carrying it. So you ask for the next level, but not cleanly, not with full ownership, because some part of you knows if no one is checking, I'm not sure I'll be successful. And I'll tell you why. Because at the next level, leadership is not just about whether you can deliver when the pressure is high and people are watching you, hit it out of the ballpark. It's whether you can move the work forward when no one is asking or watching. That is the gap. I was talking to a client recently who was in this exact transition. He was a rock star when it came to being capable, smart, and trusted. And he had been given more autonomy in the last year as a result of that. He was doing really important work, meetings, networking, stakeholder conversations, developing new opportunities for the business. He had learned the rules of the game and knew what needed to happen. And it was simple. He needed to follow up, keep leaders updated about progress and opportunities in the coming future. He needed to turn conversations into actual traction. And don't get me wrong, someone at this level had to be doing a lot of right things to stay in that role. But even when he knew what needed to be done, he was struggling. And here's where many leaders misdiagnose themselves. They say, I need to be more motivated, or I need to be more disciplined, or I don't know why I can't get my mojo back. But as we looked closer, it wasn't that he didn't have a mojo or didn't know what to do. It was that he was used to the excitement and high energy when pressure started building up to deadlines to get him going. And he hadn't created a process to carry the work forward consistently before it became urgent. And no, the answer was not try harder or just be more disciplined. It was stop making it a personality problem. How do I get motivated and start getting curious about improving the process that can lead you to success? How can I structure my workflow so the work stays visible, relevant, and moving before it becomes urgent? That is a very different question, because when you ask, how do I get motivated? You're still making your personal drive the problem. But when you ask, what structure would help me move? You start designing the conditions. You start looking at what actually works for you. You stop managing the gap between your outdated strategies and what's really being asked of you right now. And you start asking, how can I design my day to make the next right action more likely and consistently? For this client, the shift was simple but important. He had a conference coming up with a lot of important conversations. He knew that if he told himself, I'll process this later. Later might not happen. He told himself that before, and it didn't always work. So instead of flying back home, he chose the option that gave him a better option and a structure for success to be more likely. He took the train. He chose a 4-hour block with Wi-Fi. He chose a container that gave him the time and space he needed to do the task, where he could process the notes, capture the ideas, and follow up while the conversations were still fresh. That may sound small, but that is exactly the kind of leadership design I'm talking about. He didn't wait for next week's pressure. He built a condition that made movement more likely. He designed for autonomy without sacrificing accountability. Now, this wasn't a complete transformation in one moment. That's not how leadership development usually works anyway. But something important shifted. He started to see that the question was not, what's wrong with me? But what do I need to put in place so I don't keep waiting for urgency to move me? And that is the real work at this level. It's not willpower, but strategic design. Because when you have more autonomy, you can't depend on someone else to create the structure for you. You have to build it. That might be a follow-up block after an important meeting. It might be a weekly review, a standing check-in with a peer. It might be a recurring time to process notes, decisions, or open loops. It might be a simple question at the end of the week. What's important that I have not moved yet? What's the right next step? It does not need to be complicated, but it's a structure that does need to be put in place deliberately. Because if there is no structure, urgency will set the pace. And if urgency becomes what you react to, you are back in the fire drill loop. If you're a mid-level manager or director and you can see this pattern in yourself, you're capable, you're trusted, but you're still waiting for pressure to get you moving. This is the kind of work I help leaders do. Not just getting more done, but seeing the pattern that keeps pulling you back into reaction and designing a better way to lead from there. If that's something you want help with, you can find the link below to book a strategy call. So before you close this video, I want to leave you with one question, not a checklist, not a system, just one question to sit with. If the people who trust you most, your leader, your peers, the ones who gave you this autonomy, could see exactly how you're managing your work when no one is watching, what would they see? Not your intentions, not what you're planning to do next week, what they would actually see right now. Because that gap between who you are under pressure and who you are when no one is checking, that is the leadership gap this video is about. And closing it doesn't start with a new system. It starts with being honest about where you're still waiting. So where's one place this week where you could stop waiting and build one small structure that moves the work forward before it becomes urgent? Not a complete overhaul, one place, one structure. That's where it starts.